Saturday night, September 24th. Tonight, as I did last night, I found myself in the bushes alongside my target's house. It's a quiet hiding spot that I found just yesterday. One in which I can catch the occasional glimpse of my target without being seen or losing track of them. As much as I'd like to just get this over and done with, I'm in no position to rush. Since the overwhelming defeat I suffered at the hands of Leon, I've done little more than rest. I spent half of yesterday just lazing around the house, not moving an inch, and certainly not giving a return visit to the gym any thought. But while relaxing a day at home sounds envious to most, there remained just one problem. Sarah. Unable to hide my injuries from the watchful eyes of my twin sister, I copped an earful as she berated me for hours on end. She had no doubt grown suspicious long before I returned home, so when I finally did turn up in the early hours in the morning covered in bruises and cuts from head to toe, that was the last straw. As easy as it's been to lie to my sister until now, this time she wouldn't listen to reasons. Sarah didn't believe for a moment that I'd simply gotten into a disagreement with a coworker, and she certainly won't drop the issue anytime soon. Every moment we've spent together since then has been filled with incessant questioning and skepticism, finally reaching the point where I couldn't stand my sister's company. I never thought there would come a time when I'd be so happy to leave my sister's side, but no matter how much I love her, there's only so much I can take. Now I'm actually welcoming the duty over which I've been sitting on the fence. Even if I'd have no desire to inflict injury upon my target, dealing with them seems like a more pleasant alternative to spending the night with my sister. In short, I'm running away from the harsh reality of my own life and taking it out on someone else. A light switched on in the bedroom of my target, revealing a slender figure beyond the see-through curtains. Yesterday I followed my target home, returning in the dead of night to survey the area more closely. I had sought to gather information on my target's routine and home, looking for any opportunity or entry point, some way to get in contact with them. Unfortunately, what I found only made the task seem even more difficult. My target resides on the second story of a house shared with two other people. All three occupants sleep upstairs, and the only way to get to my target's room without risking their intervention is through the window. At this point in time, my body is far too weak to make such a climb. Even at 100%, I'd have difficulty scaling the side of a two-story house. Unfortunately, I don't have any other choice right now. With the curtains drawn and the lights dim once more, my target finally went to bed, signaling that it was time for me to make my move. Hoisting myself onto the fence separating my target's house from their neighbors, I grabbed onto the gutter of the neighbor's single-story home. I steadied my body as I stood up, balancing on the fence until the moment I made the first of two decisive jumps. I pulled myself onto the roof of my target's house, then quietly crept up to their window, unlocked, and let myself inside. The moment I entered the room, my target's eyes greeted me unknowingly. She gazed at me through eyes full of fear and confusion alike. Eyes that questioned whether the sight before them truly reflected reality, and what would happen next. Too bad. I had wanted to finish this while she slept. Perhaps I should have waited a bit longer. My target needs to be dealt with, but that doesn't mean she needs to suffer. She's done nothing wrong, at least not intentionally or with malice in her heart. She just needs to be silenced. Sparing no time for second thoughts, I unveiled the blade I'd so longed to test out. Not yet stained with the red release it yearned for, my blade flourished under the moon's rays, prepared to take its first victim. You're here to kill me, aren't you? Had this situation been a tad different, this girl may have been spared, but by this point that is no longer an option. I progressed without saying a word, simply nodding in affirmation. Unsurprised by her fate, the girl didn't scream or try to escape. For every ounce of her being that desperately wanted to cling to life, the overwhelming consensus seemed to be that death was what awaited her. Will you at least tell me why? You should have kept your mouth shut, Miss Lucia. Content to abandon her conversation there and then, I traversed the final gap between us. Lucia didn't try to stop me as I closed in, or even as I sat down beside her. A short breath escaped her lips as I wrapped my arm around her and held her close, but still she showed no resistance. Then another breath escaped from Lucia's body, though this time through a different opening. I gently traced my hunting knife along her throat, all the while keeping my left hand over her mouth. Lucia tried to scream, but the air instead escaped through the new slit in her neck, further propelling the blood sprays I'd already induced. Finally, Lucia tried to fight back, but by now she had no strength with which to resist. Her teeth made no impression on the glove adorning her face. Unfortunately for her, I had learned from my previous kills. No fingerprints, no abandoned weapons or articles of clothing, and from this position no blood to stain me. As I calmly analyzed my situation, Lucia's futile resistance grew even weaker. All she could do was bleed to death while I avoided the mess she was making. Now, this is actually a little unrealistic. Slitting a person's throat will actually cause them to lose consciousness within seconds, and they will bleed to death rather quickly. Basically what happens is the loss of blood pressure to the brain will cause the loss of consciousness, and then they're in no shape to fight back at all. So it's possible she could still cry, but she wouldn't be able to fight, she wouldn't be able to cry or anything, she'd already be asleep. Concluding that Lucia had no strength with which to fight back, I began to look around her room, only then beginning to realize why she did what she did. Her walls are bare. She has no computer or television, no CDs, not even so much as a poster or handbag. All she has are books and a desk, both of which no doubt exist for the sole purpose of studying. Living like that, it's hard to blame her for seeking attention. It's only natural she'd crave a little excitement. Too bad she chose to do so by threatening my livelihood. Returning my focus to the task at hand, I noticed that Lucia had lost the last of her fight. Her lifeless corpse was still in my arms, kept upright only by the support I supplied. I guess my work here is done. Time to get out of here before... Lucia, aren't you asleep yet? Whether it was the sound of her earlier flailing or the footsteps of her murderer, Lucia now had attracted the attention of her father. The thin door separating Mr. K from his daughter's cold body creaked open, revealing to him an unimaginable scene. And her body isn't going to be cold just yet. Although, sadly, I might be scaring some of you with how much I know about killing people and disposing of bodies if you've seen what I said about the acid showers in Zero Time Dilemma. I swear, if you aren't asleep by the time I count to... Mr. K stopped himself mid-sentence, both physically and mentally unable to continue his train of thought. On Lucia's bed was the lifeless body of his daughter, and just beyond her corpse stood the teenager responsible for her gruesome death. And that moment of immobilizing shock was all I needed. I pierced the night air as I plunged my hunting knife into Mr. K's eye socket, pinning him to the wall across from Lucia's room with phenomenal speed and ease. He didn't have enough time to raise his hands, let alone move out of the way, allowing me to drive my knife through the back of his skull with minimal resistance. No longer able to speak or think, Mr. K remained frozen, standing only thanks to my help. Freed from the blade supporting him, Mr. K fell to the floor, unable to move an inch through his own free will. Even with Mr. K disposed of, however, my work was not yet done. That bastard. I should have muffled his scream the instant I struck. Thanks to his nosy nature and loud mouth, this is quickly becoming a massacre. Alerted by her husband's scream, Mrs. K was huddled in the corner of her room, whispering on the phone. I really messed this one up. I was supposed to deal with Lucia and leave. A quick, quiet job with only a single victim. But now... He's here. He's in the room right now. No, I don't know. It's too dark to tell. Please, just hurry up and... Cut off by the sound of tearing flesh, Mrs. K's eyes locked onto the steel blade protruding from her throat. Entering from behind, the blade made its way clean through her esophagus, without any resistance whatsoever. Ma'am, are you still there? Mrs. K tried to speak, with my blade launched in her throat, doing and so proved impossible. Her hands shook, and the phone she was holding rocked from side to side, descending as the strength required to support its weight failed her. Ma'am, we're sending a patrol car over right now. Just stay on the line so we can... Administering the final blow, I ended the conversation Mrs. K had hoped would save her life. Her body fell to the floor, lifeless and bloody, right next to her mobile phone. I calmly picked the phone up off the floor, cutting the call and immediately basking in the silence I summoned. The next day. Sunday morning, September 25th. A restful morning of cleared conflict and renewed affection. A morning of peace, quiet, and much-needed proximity. Be it her forgiving nature or the absent warmth of her brother, Sarah quickly dropped the issue that separated us only days ago. She has by no means forgotten, of course. Sarah won't overlook the issue anytime soon, but neither will she allow it to come between us any longer. Even if I thought Sarah was being unreasonable at the time, she's undoubtedly a much better person than I am. In hindsight, I think I may have scared her into forgiveness. She'd honestly been scared to death when I turned up in the early hours of the morning, bruised and beaten within an inch of my life. Oh man, bad time for hiccups. She wouldn't admit it, of course, but I could see the concern on her face as easily as she saw through my deceit. On top of that, I can only imagine how she felt when, on Friday and Saturday alike, I disappeared in the middle of the night. I'm a rotten brother, aren't I? Despite my disappearances and deceit, or perhaps because of them, Sarah sought to mend our relationship the second we began to drift apart. She agreed to stop asking about where I'd been and what I'd done, accepting that I wouldn't tell her, at least not yet. As much as I'd like to put Sarah's mind at ease, I fear that telling her the truth would accomplish the exact opposite. I'm not the vigilante she painted me to be, and I'm definitely not the kind of person she should idolize. Even if some of my despicable actions will inevitably pay the bills, they are nothing to be proud of. Hey, hold still. As I wallowed in my own melancholy thoughts, Sarah continued to devotedly rub ointment onto my back. Though my wounds have been healing at an unfathomable pace, I am still bruised from head to toe, and there's no way I could hide that fact from the watchful eyes of my sister. Despite that, she's actually said very little about my injuries, or even about my job. I wonder what she'd say if I told her I was offered a new job. Sarah might actually provide some much-needed insight into the situation. I don't have to give her details, just enough information to let her know what's going on. Say, Sarah. Sarah kept rubbing my back, seemingly unaffected by the long-coming break in silence. If, hypothetically, I were offered a job, the kind where I typically only work a few hours a night, what would you say? Huh? This time, Sarah stopped rubbing. She stared at my back quizzically for a moment, wearing a concerned smile the next. A safer job? Well, I don't know about that. Is it safer to slit someone's throat in the dead of night than it is to extort money from them in broad daylight? Either way, as far as she's concerned, yes, a safer job. As I confirmed her wishful thinking, Sarah reacted with neither relief nor excitement. The line felt rehearsed, almost as though my answer was irrelevant. So, you might not be there when I go to sleep, but you won't be covered in bruises when I wake up? Hypothetically speaking. Pretty much. Sarah thought my proposition over for a moment, silently mulling over the potential ramifications. Of course, even if she doesn't say a word, Sarah isn't hard to read. On one hand, I would be safe, and I no longer need to fake 10-hour days. I wouldn't have to wake up early in the morning either. On the other, we'd have less time together overall. I might not be there for dinner. I might not be there at bedtime. Working nights, I'd also go to sleep later, and in turn wake up later and miss out on our usual morning banter. A little later, and I might not even be able to see her off. Personally, I don't mind what her choice is. I'm truly conflicted either way. This is a real lose-lose situation. Sarah's movement slowed to a halt as her mind continued to drift further away. Sarah, I just want you to be safe. Yes, even I can tell that. Sarah's too honest to lie about her feelings so blatantly. Contrary to the concern she displayed just moments ago, Sarah wants me to take the hard, dangerous route. To her, my presence is worth more than my safety. Given the choice between a safe, healthy brother who she never sees, and a cripple she can spend all day with, it seems she'd prefer the latter. Sarah finished treating my back, and the rest of our morning went by rather quietly. She spent her time reading and doing her homework, occasionally glancing at the television while my mind drifted towards a topic I couldn't afford to share. Karasu gave me until the end of the week to reach a decision, and with night almost upon us, it would appear that I'm just about out of time. As if that wasn't enough, I also need to ensure that my work from last night went unnoticed. After finishing off the final member of the K family, I located a bottle of bleach from under their sink, which I used to remove the fresh blood from my gloves and shirt. Now, I don't actually know how effective bleach is for removing blood, but hydrogen peroxide works wonders. I then proceeded to steal some clothes from the late Mr. K's wardrobe, careful not to step in the puddle encroaching upon that room's doorway, and made my escape out the back door. A few fences later, I was in the clear. I was fortunate to get out of there before the police arrived, but was it enough? Did the wife manage to tell the police anything before I killed her? Did I accidentally leave a bloody shoe print? Will some of my hairs be found at the scene? All it takes is one little mistake and I could wind up in jail, if not the cemetery. Despite my worries over getting caught, I felt no sympathy as I recalled the manner in which I disposed of Lucia and her family. For all of my complaints about Marcus killing people unnecessarily, or my reservations about working for Karasu, in reality, I had already stopped caring. I know I should feel bad about Lucia, but when I think about how her lies could have gotten me put into prison, I just can't. What happened with her family members was unfortunate. They shouldn't have died like that. I was careless, lingering longer than planned, and needed to kill them to make a clean getaway. But now that they're all gone, I just... Pulling myself away from my dangerous thoughts, I found my sister staring at the television, groaning under her breath. Sarah, what's wrong? Nothing's wrong. Despite her claim, Sarah continued to stare at the television, quietly voicing her discontent. What, are you trying to turn it on telepathically? Shut up, and you mean telekinetically. Ouch. Even when she's miles away, Sarah still corrects me. Do you want me to turn it on for you? No, I told you, I need to do my homework. Fine, fine, I'll turn it on. Honestly, if you want to watch TV, just say so. I'm the last person who would berate someone else for not doing their homework. Sitting in front of the television, not accomplishing a thing, I resolved myself to simply enjoy my sister's company. While she completed her homework, intermittently changing channels on the television, I slowly drifted off, both bored and content with our current arrangement. We watched hour after hour of dramatized rubbish and copious advertising, wasting the remaining sunlight without regret. But as the day dragged on and dinner time approached, Sarah and I were finally graced with something we both wanted to watch. Or in my case, something I needed to watch. Late last night, police received a frantic phone call from Mrs. K, mother of local celebrity Lucia K, who was saved by a supposed vigilante less than 1 week ago. When police arrived on the scene, Mr. and Mrs. K were both found viciously murdered inside their home, already beyond saving. Mr. K's death is believed to have been almost immediate, whereas Mrs. K died more slowly from blood loss. There were no signs of a break-in nor any indication that anybody had been invited into the home, leaving police without any suspects at this time. I quietly sighed in relief as I heard the good news, though I remained skeptical as to whether or not it was the truth. Why would police admit to not having any suspects or finding any trace of a person being there? I know Karasu alluded to the fact that police are easily bought off, but this smells more like a trap than a case of corruption. this devastating attack, Miss Lucia Kay is currently being monitored by police in the intensive care unit at an undisclosed hospital. Given the police commissioner's decision to release Lucia, despite the danger she was believed to be in, he is expected to... What the hell? That's impossible. She can't be alive. I slit her throat wide open. Uh-oh. No, I mean... The vigilante wouldn't do that, right? It doesn't make any sense. Nobody said it was the vigilante. Though they do seem to be implying it. Speculation regarding Lucia's connection to the vigilante at large is already beginning to spread like wildfire online. Is this the work of the same vigilante who supposedly rescued Lucia not even 1 week ago? Or is this a revenge killing for what happened to her attackers? Personally, I believe that. But nobody wants your opinion. Even after Sarah turned the television off, I continued to recede into my own mind. Doubting what I had seen and heard, I replayed the events of last night over in my head, wondering how Lucia could have possibly survived. Impossible. There's no better word for it. Just impossible. Lucia was dead before she even left my arms. I felt her pulse reduce to nothing. I witnessed her final breath. I cut her throat to ribbons. I watched her blood soak her bed sheets. Even if the police arrived shortly after I left, they couldn't possibly have gotten her to the hospital quickly enough to save her. It's just a trick to lure me out, nothing more. As I continued to indulge in dangerous thoughts, nightfall finished consuming the sky, bringing an end to my predominantly uneventful day. Sarah plowed through her homework, caught up on some reading, and still had time to roast a chicken for dinner. The news of her friend being in the intensive care unit didn't seem to faze her in the least. She didn't even react to the mention of the vigilante in whom she had previously displayed such interest. While I'm grateful that Sarah didn't make a big deal out of my outburst, I am a little worried about her lack of a reaction. Considering her own situation these past few days, Sarah's probably afraid to make any waves, not wanting the two of us to fight again. If that is the case, then I don't know whether to feel guilty or relieved. Once Sarah was sound asleep, I quickly slipped out of bed, carefully placing her arms around a pillow in my stead. I tiptoed through the living room, then made my way to the door, remaining as quiet as I possibly could. Sorry to do this to you again so soon, Sarah, but tonight I have something important to take care of. Retracing the route I had been escorted along twice before, I used Marcus's key, which I received from Karasu after our last chat, to enter the stairwell leading to Karasu's underground stadium. Once there, I then headed towards his office, not encountering a single person or well-lit room any side of the way. Faced with the heavy steel door I had last passed through only days ago, I knocked and waited for a response. Light poured out of the room into the dark passage, assaulting my eyes in the same manner as before. Once my eyes adjusted, I found Karasu waiting on the other side of the door, seemingly absorbed by the content on his laptop. Welcome back, Mr. Tesla. To what do I owe the pleasure? Is he serious? Sir, you told me that I had until the end of the week to reach a decision. Moments after I had spoken, the door behind me shut. I couldn't see or hear anybody else present, so I assumed the door had just shut automatically after a few seconds had passed. Of course, I'd almost forgotten about that. Thought long and hard about it. Have I ever? It may be a forgettable matter to Karasu, but to me, this is a life-changing decision. Working for Karasu, being forced to do despicable things for impressive sums of money. When it comes down to it, that kind of job offer is one that I must accept. I'm not really in a position to refuse, am I? Besides, I'm already working for Karasu, and it's not like I have any real issue with the kind of work I've been doing. If I can make more money working under him directly, then what possible reason could I have to refuse? I accept. I knew you wouldn't disappoint me. Be here Monday morning, 10 a.m. I'll have you meet your new co-workers. Wait a minute. Co-workers? I won't be working on my own? You will, at least for the most part, but I do employ others with your talent. You will be assigned work by your peers, participate in meetings to discuss potential targets. You know, typical business stuff. Typical business stuff, my ass. What happens if I fail an assignment? I wouldn't worry about that. There's a reason why I employ more than one person with your talent, you know. If you can't complete an assignment, one of your co-workers will step in. Though you should know that you get paid per successful assignment. If someone else takes on your assignment for you, they will take your pay along with it. Although Karasu answered my question, he still made no mention of what an assignment might entail, and offered no further detail regarding what my talent might be exactly. As he had from the beginning, Karasu appeared to be telling me the bare minimum, making sure I was on board before divulging more than necessary. So any questions? Just as I began to wonder what Karasu wasn't telling me, the man asked an enticing question as though sensing my unease. So it's not that he won't tell me, I just need to ask the right questions. Okay then, with everything Karasu's told me, what important information has he left out? Let's ask about the money. When you say that we're paid per assignment, just how much are we talking about? Oh, curious about how much you'll be earning, huh? Your remuneration is proportional to the difficulty and execution of the assignment in question. Further to that, this service I offer doesn't come cheap. You'll never go broke working for me. Rest assured that you will make an easy living. The exact amount is up to you. So, sadly, I think we're actually at the point of the game where our choices matter. So, I don't know if there's going to be consequences for asking about these, but we'll try. I'm going to stick to my dark heroic route as per usual. So expect lots of bloodshed whenever the option presents itself for the most part. Co-workers. You said something about me having co-workers. I suppose that isn't the best word for them. But yes, you will be working alongside other like-minded individuals. You won't typically work side by side, of course. For the most part, they will act more akin to backup. You will work independently, but still report to and assist your comrades. There are 6 others, 2 of whom you've already met. I'd tell you more, but you'll meet them in person tomorrow morning anyway. And this is the dangerous one, your business. What do you do exactly? Me? You want to know more about yours truly? Well, I am kind of curious, but... No, what I mean is, what is this business of yours? Marcus made it sound like you, pursue many different avenues of income. Marcus, huh? Whatever that brat told you, forget it. Just do as I say and don't worry about the details. As far as you're concerned, my business is that of an illustrious employer, one who rewards his employees very generously. No further questions. So, 10 a.m. tomorrow morning, ready for work. That's right. From Monday onward, you are one of my elite.